Vint is the first fully transparent wine investment platform, genuinely accessible to everyone. For less than $100, you can own SEC-qualified shares of the best wines in the world. The Vint Wine Investment Podcast offers up-to-date information on the world of wine and investing, as well as current perspectives on our collections and the wine markets in general. Enjoy the show.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Vint Wine Investment Podcast. My name is Billy Galenko. I'm the head wine here at Vint, and I wanted to kick off the show with an update on our DRC collection, which actually just sold out, and our upcoming Napa Valley collection. So the DRC collection, this was actually our largest collection in terms of value. It was $137,000 worth of wine. It was the highest in value, although it was, only 8 bottles total, which is interesting for us. But what was also interesting is not only was this our highest collection by value, but we also had the most investors we've ever had in a single collection. There were over 100 investors in this collection, which makes it really exciting for us because, here at Vint, our goal is to democratize the wine investment process. So we don't want just a few people coming in and buying a majority of the shares. That's why we have the rules where only, you can only buy up to 20% of any single collection. So we're just really excited to see more people getting in on any single collection. And we look forward to, as these collections continue to grow in size, making more available to individuals and leaving them open for enough time so that everybody has a chance to grab the shares that they would like. So now that the collection is sold out, we can do like a quick little recap or look back, and it's been an interesting road. This is one of the most exciting collections for me as a wine lover and a sommelier. I've always wanted to work with DRC and include these wines in anything that I'm doing. And so a few months back we had the kernel of this idea to really launch a DRC collection, and I was really excited when the company kind of got the go ahead. So we started looking and working with our merchant partners of, looking into different channels, seeing where we could find the best value. And, it was interesting because, we decided on DRC, not only because of its prestige and historical value, but the market for DRC right now was the right time. It was on the up, but there's still opportunities to find some value. So we worked with our partners, and we ended up with these 2 parcels, one being the DRC 2010 DRC Romanée Conti, and then the other mix pack from 2016. And what really stood out about these 2 parcels to us was, number one, purely the qualities of the vintage in themselves. 2010 was an amazing vintage, and be able to have a 3-pack in OWC original wooden crate from Romanée Conti itself was a great find. And we were able to work with the person selling the wine through our merchant partners to get a great value for our investors. And then the mix pack was interesting because, 2016 was a dicey year in some parts of Burgundy, which is why they didn't produce an NSO or a Grand Assau or a Montrachet that year to be included in this mix pack. But the wines that were produced were, not hampered by hail, and they weren't hampered by any of the other ailments, and they were amazing wines, and they're reflected as stuff. So it's interesting to see that the volume overall in Burgundy might have been down that year, but what was made is great. And we're really excited to be able to have had a parcel there. So looking forward, not only are these collections, great finds and values for our investors at the beginning, but looking forward to potential sales down the line, the quality and the value that we're able to source is going to come in and be very important. So in addition to having wines from good years and making sure that the provenance and everything is up to snuff, which is kind of a rigorous process that we go through with our investors, the other piece that we want to consider is like I was mentioning, the makeup of these collections in and of themselves. So something that's really appealing to collectors is our original wooden crates, basically having the wines and the packaging that they kind of came from the winery. That's the ultimate sign of provenance. And it also means that, you're getting a complete set in the way that the winery intended to sell it. The other piece is the mix of that collection or parcel and how much was produced in a single year or how much is currently available on the market. So the 2010 Romanée Conti, for example, was made in less than 500 cases. And now, as 11 years old, some of that's been starting to be consumed. But it's going to continue to be held, but it's fairly hard to find on the market right now, the open market. And continually, as we continue to hold this and look towards a potential sale down the line, we're going to be monitoring, market forces, availability on the market, values, and all of these will be variables that we consider into a potential sale, keeping in mind that Domaine de la Romanée Conti's wines on the whole, and especially Romanée Conti itself, can age for 20, 30, 40, 50 years even, and still be beautifully drinking and even improving. So we're not in any hurry to move these wines. And what's beautiful with these is, there has historically been consistent demand for them, and we will have the opportunity to kind of strike when the iron's hot to get the best value for our investors. And the same kind of goes for the mix pack. The 2016 mix pack is, that's only 5 years old at this point. So these wines are just beginning to be consumed. They're really just being, turning the corner in terms of development and really, drinking in a different way than they were as, young, really primary fruit forward wine. So what's exciting here is there's strong demand already for those wines in the market, and has a complete set of unique wines from 5 different vineyards. Or 4 different vineyards, 5 bottles. It's a really unique offering, and it's just going to continue to kind of come into its own as these different wines basically mature and start bringing on some of these secondary and developmental notes for the actual consumers, for collectors. So as people are looking forward to these wines, sometimes they'll pick a mix pack like these and purchase them that maybe the La Tâche and the Romanée Conti in the box, they'll let, age for another 5, 10, 15 years. But maybe some of the other wines, whether it be the Saint Vivant or, any of the other wines in the parcel, they will drink those earlier. So it's really interesting to be able to offer this mix pack, because it can appeal to an investor who wants to maybe consume wines at different stages over time, or kind of have a little bit of wines from multiple different vineyards rather than just, really focus on a single parcel. So with that said, the collection's now sold. We're obviously not looking to hold on to the wines for 15, 20 years as they develop. So, immediately, as we do with any collection, these wines are held in proper storage, they're insured. These wines in particular are overseas in London, and we're working with our partners from the minute the sale's over and, the investment part's over on our side and everybody's invested in the collection. We're actually fielding offers and working with our partners to, monitor the price of these wines in the open market. So it's something that we haven't really touched on before, but it's interesting that, if we got the right offer tomorrow for these wines, even though the collection just sold, and we could, offer the proper, kind of sale price for our investors, we would actually entertain that and most likely accept it. We're not necessarily holding only purely for a period of time, but it just so happens that these assets do appreciate, historically over this period of time. So it's interesting moving forward just to have that look ahead, and just to let you guys know that that's kind of how we view each collection. Is there is this optimum window, but we are fielding collection offers and speaking with our advisors on a regular basis to identify any market trends that would be beneficial for a potential sale. So now looking forward to our next collection, we have something really special coming up. We've actually been working really closely with a lot of winemakers and producers directly on this one. It's going to be a 2018 Napa Valley collection. And note that I'm not saying a Napa Valley Cabernet collection. This collection actually features white and red wines from across Napa Valley. And it's a really exciting collection. 2018 was a very special year after years of drought from 2011 to 2016 and fires in 2017. 2018 was kind of this godsend rebound year across Napa Valley. And these wines are just now being released. And what's interesting is most of the best wines in the valley are only available via allocation. You need to be on some sort of mailing list. You need to know somebody. And that's basically how the wines are distributed. You can't really just go to a store and just find one of these wines the next day. So we've worked with our partners to really get the wines as soon as they were leaving the wineries, like almost directly from the wineries themselves, in some cases. And what's really interesting here for us is with doing so and with having the network of partners that we do, and our wine advisory committee, we were able to source some of the best wines from this vintage, from Napa Valley as a whole. We have 3 100-point wines, including a 2018 Screaming Eagle Cabernet Sauvignon. And, you guys might be familiar with Screaming Eagle from our first collection. It's possibly the most famous American wine, flying into, fame upon a Robert Parker review of their 1992 vintage, which was their first vintage released. Robert Parker gave this review in 95, and since then, they've basically been the epitome of Napa cult wines. Something else really exciting that we are launching with this collection is the Napa Valley Winemakers Companion box. This box, we've worked really closely with friends and connections up in Napa to be able to source some library wines from a number of interesting producers up there, 3 producers to be precise. And what's really interesting is, a couple of these we've actually gone to their wineries, tasted directly with the winemaker. In other cases, we've, worked closely with our friends who, are the GMs, really kind of high up in the wineries themselves, and are able to have access to interesting library wines. And when I say library wines, it means wines that have been purposely held back by the winery to age, in their cellars and under their control. So sometimes you'll find, library releases of the same wine cost more than wines that were released but are from the same year prior. So what's kind of interesting, what I mean by that is wines that are from a certain vintage and have been sold on the secondary market, they're not necessarily, you can't tell what happened to them over the time of their lives. Sometimes you can't guarantee that they were kept in the right conditions. You can't guarantee that they were, kept laying down or upright if they needed to be. When you get wines directly from the winery and directly from the cellar, you can guarantee provenance, you can guarantee they were under the best conditions, and you can just guarantee the quality of the wine. So we have a box that features 3 different wines, 2 bottles of each of these wines from producers throughout Napa Valley. So we have 3 wines, and they're sourced from different AVAs across Napa Valley. And what's interesting here is we wanted to do 2 things with these 3 wines. We wanted to give you a sense of the difference between different sub AVAs within Napa Valley itself, which are American viticulture areas, which are basically like little growing areas within Napa that have their own attributes. So we have 2, one's from Stag's Leap and another from Mount Veeder, that kind of give you an expression of mountain fruit. And what this means is still ripe fruit, all the things you look for in a cab, but also this kind of undertone of refreshing acidity and kind of brightness to the fruit. And then we have a Beckstoffer Tokalon from the Judge Palmer, which is really interesting. Tokalon is by far the most heralded vineyard in Napa Valley. Opus One and Robert Mondavi gets their fruit from there, not exclusively, but a large portion of the blend. And then the Beckstoffers farm a majority of it, and they're the most famous farmers of the most famous vineyard in Napa, and these grapes come from their farming. And what's really exciting is this is Valley Floor fruit. So it's a good balance between seeing what's nice and kind of almost more delicate and floral, I guess you would say, while still powerful and, ripe from the mountains. These are like the Valley Floor fruit is very plush and very ripe and very kind of just big, and what you look for in like a really nice Napa cab. So we're able to offer all 3 of these wines at a discount on what you would be able to find them online, which is really exciting. Just by working through our network, working with our partners at Major Crush, who helped us curate and acquire the wines. They're a podcast that we were on recently. You guys should go check them out. Major Crush Winecast. They're great. Lou and Meredith and Lou's wife Sonia are excellent people. And we were able to source these wines and really give you a sense of these different AVAs, and we're able to give you a sense of the wine over the years. The youngest wine in this collection, this little box, is 2011, and the or I would say, sorry, flip that. The oldest wine in this collection, this winemaker's box, is from 2011, and the youngest wine is from 2017. And the wine in the middle is about, equidistant, little younger. But what's interesting is it gives you a sense of how Napa Valley wines age over time. So when we say 2018 is a good vintage and it's going to be, really showing well for collectors in, 5 or 10 years or whenever they choose to drink it, you'll be able to see kind of what they would be experiencing if they drank one at these different stages of their lives. So it's something really exciting, and it's a physical experiential component that we're able to add on top of the regular opportunity to invest in some of the best wines in Napa. So if you're interested in the Napa Valley Winemaker's Companion box, I will say that it doesn't come with your investment. Basically, there's only actually 12 of these boxes available. They will be available on our partner Wine Major Crush's website. And so we'll be following up with a little more information through our normal channels on social and on email. But if you're interested in learning more, reach out directly to us at Vint.co or support@Vint.co. Either one, we will answer your messages, and we can provide more info on how to acquire wines or these boxes in this set. But I will say it's not going to go live until probably soon after this podcast goes live. We will see. But just stay tuned and you guys will get all the information you need.
Hi, this is Nick King, co-founder and CEO at Vint. I wanted to thank you all for tuning into the revamped Vint podcast. Going forward, I'm going to provide a note on each of these podcasts, providing an internal update, what we're working on, introducing new team members, really trying to pull the curtain back on Vint for our community. So for those of you who are on the email list, you may have seen a pretty big announcement from us this week. We announced our pre-seed fundraise. We raised $1.7 million from top venture capital firms, some really interesting angel investors, and we're really focused on growth. The funny thing about fundraising is you only see the headline and everybody says, oh, it was this great process and it went so smooth, but they are lying. It is an arduous process, especially taking on a first-time venture capital fundraise. So I wanted to share a little bit with you all about how that worked. So we started fundraising in May. We took a one-off meeting with Slow Ventures. If you haven't checked out Alts and Insights, but they are a company that Slow invested in their pre-seed. Russ Lieberman connected me with Slow. I met Kevin and had a good meeting, but they said a little early, I want to see a little bit more. And then I started running a true fundraising process where I took 25 meetings. We got one term sheet. We ended up passing on that term sheet and then started a second process. And the funny story was I was up in New York and I was meeting with our now lead investor, FinTech Ventures. And my second time ever in New York, I took the subway, wrong direction, ended up in Brooklyn, made it to the meeting with about 5 minutes to spare. And 5 minutes into the pitch, the fire alarm in the hotel went off. So I ended up pitching on the side of the road of South Central Park for 45 minutes. And they ended up leading the round. Funny, our first conversation was Slow. They ended up investing as well. And we put together a real top tier round of fintech investors, collectibles investors, people with great portfolio companies who I view as partners who we're going to work with, and they're going to help us grow. So all in all, 1.7 million. And the two main goals there are marketing and team. So we have made two great hires in the past month. First is Brady, who you may have met. He is an investor relations associate. met Brady about 9 months ago, said it was a really interesting product. We stayed in touch. And I'd say the funny thing about Brady is I think he loves this business more than anybody else on the team, maybe other than myself. He's a true power user of the platform, and who better to talk to our users in the community than Brady. And then we also hired Jordan, who will be a growth marketer, and we'll introduce him in a few weeks once he starts. So team and marketing, two uses of proceeds so that we can really drive growth. And that's the message. I hope you all can check out the Napa collection in about a week from the day that we are recording this. And thanks for being a part of the Vint community.
For questions, comments, or feedback on the Vint Wine Investment Podcast, please email us at support@vint.co. To check out our current offerings and to sign up for the Vint platform, find us at www.vint.co. That's www.vint.co. Vint and VV Markets are offering securities pursuant to Regulation A. Our offering circular, as amended, can be found on the SEC website. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. Investments such as those on the Vint platform are speculative and involve substantial risk to consider before investing. We may provide communication that may contain certain forward-looking statements that are subject to various risks and uncertainties. Information provided in any communications is not legal, business, or tax advice. All prospective investors should consult a legal, tax, or business advisor concerning the subject matter of any communications and any offering.